Time for the Investor Masterclass, and today we have Nidhi Kanoi, who is the president of Mumbai chapter from Millennium Mams, joining us. A very good afternoon to you, Nidhi. Thank you so much for joining us on ET Now. And if you could talk to us about your investment journey and what actually attracted you to the stock market in the first place.
So the India story is growing, and I hope to see India as the world's third largest economy in my lifetime, and definitely want to become financially independent and participate in this story. That is the intention, and we've learned in Millennium Mams to bet on fundamentals, and that really plays big.
Let's talk about the fundamentals. Which are the sectors do you think are the most poised for an outperformance? Because there's a lot of information, a lot of noise in the market, right? How do you clutter away from the noise and focus on the specifics?
Sure. So, as you said, there is definitely a lot of noise, and the best way is to be well read and be prepared. So, when the opportunity comes, then you can bet big. So one sector which we all look at very closely, Mr. Dhanuka says the Indian consumption story is one big story, right? So your auto, your tourism, be it finance, be it auto parts, all of it is just one big consumption story. So read well, and when the opportunity comes, if you're prepared, bet big. The main thing is to bet big with conviction, which I've learned over the years, and it's interesting because you see it play out. And one big sector which I'm bullish on is consumer goods. TTK Prestige in particular. I think the rural story, from rural to tier 2 to tier 3, all these towns and villages are definitely brand conscious, as well as they have the potential to grow bigger. And our consumer durable industry is going to grow. So that's where I think, that's one sector I'm looking at very closely.
Right, Nidhi. The other thing a lot of retail investors got sucked into was the IPO FOMO last year. And now most of these counters are down approximately 20 to 70%. If you could tell us what's your take on how to actually approach IPOs?
Yeah, so we've learned that basically any of these new age economies, you bet as if you're a venture capitalist. If you feel you're bullish on it, bet on 10 or 20 of these companies. Maybe two or three will grow multifold, and that's what we're seeing. The rest, you may lose some money, but it's okay because you bet on a couple. And IPOs is something I've burnt my fingers and learned to stay away from. I bet on the LIC IPO, and we all know how it's fallen. Uh, but it's a solid stock, so I have faith in it. And like I said, so IPOs, it's better to let them list and then see how the market plays out. You may lose some money. Sometimes you may have to put in at a higher rate, but that's a risk I feel it's better to take than to bet in the IPO level.
So, Nidhi, if you could shed some light on what are the mistakes and what are your learnings from those mistakes?
So one other learning is, when there are dips, you've always learned that buy on dips, but maybe it's not necessarily the best, because if you don't understand the business, to buy on dips is, again, it's something you're playing with fire. So I did that with the tech companies when the recent fall happened. And again, I don't understand it. So I'm hoping to see that, that was one mistake I feel I have made. Hopefully it'll correct, but let's see.
Right, and as an individual investor, how important do you think it is focus on macros, or do you ignore the macros and just focus on the fundamentals and the micros of the individual stocks that you invest in?
I think you're right. The macro plays a big part, because that will determine whether it's the right time for you to enter the market. So we do look at the macro economy, and like the recession, the war still on, all of those Fed rates, RBI, their stop of the rate hike. So that is something you have to keep in mind. But obviously, if the fundamentals of the company play out well, and you have your study and you have faith in that, that is something you have to do as well. So it's a bit of both, I would say.
All right. Thank you so much, Nidhi, for joining us on the show and sharing with us your experiences of investing in the market and what should retail investors keep in mind. That was Nidhi Kanoi of Millennium Mams.